Oh, hey. Hey, guys. Just wiping the beard from a fresh drink of Monster. Not sponsored, but hey, this is Pulse. Thanks for joining me. I'm Brandolph from TheChads Media. And today we are excited to bring a very special guest who has been extremely active on the socials and creating community space for people to congregate and discuss the important developments going on out here in the great wide world of Web3. So, without any more rigmarole here, we will invite Sanza to the stage. Welcome, sir. How are
Well,
you?
I'm good. I'm good, my man. How are you? How's everything going today?
Oh, busy day, busy day. I definitely did not just break into my parents' house for their Wi Fi, and they may or may not be getting five or six calls from neighbors about that guy in a hoodie. Uh, but we're here, we're plugged in, and we've got the good Wi Fi, and, makes for a fun story.
Yeah, the things we do for Web3, just people don't even know. You were breaking your parents' house. Would you? This feels like an engagement farm meta that actually played out the way It feels like something like if you had a live stream at 3. Would you break into your parents' house just to do that for their Wi-Fi? And it's like, yes, Brandolph would. He would.
Yes, and I did. I haven't hopped a fence in a hot minute, but I sprung right over that 4 foot concrete wall, and it was cool. I felt cool. Now I'm ready to go skateboarding. I've got my adrenaline pumping
Nice.
and nice and sweaty. So you
There's
got
a
to get
dirty
sweaty
joke
in
in
Web
there
three.
somewhere. There's a dirty joke in there somewhere.
Oh man, we need the group chat to come in with the dirty jokes. Always coming in clutch with the dirty jokes. So I wanted to give you a proper intro to. We are live on X and YouTube, where we have 30 subscribers now.
Ooh.
So you might legit get famous from this. You're welcome. So Sansa, you are a very active Spaces host. You are in the Azuki community. You're wearing that PFP. You got a ton of commissioned art with your branding. Shoot, where did we start, man? When did you begin your journey in NFTs?
I mean, there's so many different places to start. I feel like I need man. I don't want to go on a long monologue though. I know I'm known for that, but like let where would you say you want to start, Brandolph, specifically?
I don't know, you could just be like, it was 2020. It was 2021. I did a thing, then I did another thing. Yeah, I don't know. If you go on a monologue, people just get to know you. They get your story. They feel connected. Really
Yeah.
saturate that Sansa lore.
Okay, wait, hold on. I want to make sure I repost the stream. So hold on. Let me just I'm
Oh,
going
thank you.
yeah, I wanna, show some love. We got a lot of different things going on, and I've been very particularly active today. So sometimes these things can get lost on the timeline, if you know. But yeah, dude, I think I'll start like a little bit of I'll try to cut it short in the beginning and then maybe go into the specifics as of recently. I um I only got into Web3 because of Axie Infinity, and what I mean by that is as a Web2 normie who knew nothing about NFTs, all you've ever heard was it's a scam. Crypto's a scam. Silk Road. They all traffic humans. Everyone there criminals. And you're just like, all right, so I should stay away from crypto. Got it. Duly noted. Easy enough. But I had started experimenting with buying some crypto that I started seeing in the mainstream media. And some people might be ashamed to say it, but I own it. I own it. I bought Cardano first time because I was like, this is $1. Worst case scenario, this goes to zero. Best case scenario, I make $1 million for absolutely no reason whatsoever, right? So I bought, I deployed a whole $50 on Cardano. Little did I know, I actually bought the top at that point, so that wasn't. But in order to do that, I had to open a Coinbase account. And what Coinbase had at that point, and they probably still do, is they sent out news to every user, and kind of like, one of them was the Axie, talking about Axie Infinity when everyone and their mama was talking about it. You know what I mean? Like everyone was like, Axie Infinity, whatever. And obviously now I know that was the top as well, but they refer to it as the Pokemon of NFTs, and I'm like a huge, I've been playing Pokemon my whole life. Like, obviously now not as active as I was when I was fucking 10 or 12, but I whenever someone uses Pokemon as an analogy, it's a very clear visual for me. Like, cool, okay, well let's go see what it's about. And you read a little bit more about it, you do a little bit more research, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to give this a shot. Like, just this one though, none of the other criminal NFTs, right? And so I asked if I have one, literally just one friend that everyone knew. He traded NFTs. He was making money doing it. This was 2021, making money doing it, and he was just the guy you go to for anything smart, big brain. So I went to him and I said, "Hey, um, so is this actually Infinity thing legit? Like, I don't know NFTs, but like this kind of intrigues me. Are you making money off of this?" He's like, "I haven't touched it. It's the top." He was a trader mentality kind of guy, right? So
Okay.
he's the top, like And at that point, before I talked to him, I had tried to dabble in Axie Infinity, and at that point, this was before they expanded and went a different route, which they're in a much better place now when it comes to onboarding the masses and everything. But then it was 3,000, 6,000, perhaps 9,000 just to have a starter team. And I was like, $3,000. I was ready to throw like $300 at best. Like I'm not trying to do 3,000. So obviously, and then that's why I went to my friend. I was like, well, I need some guidance. I wanna dabble in this. If this isn't the only thing that's similar to this, I want to look more into this stuff. And he had, long story short, he had taken me and guided me to my first mint, which was on Polygon, ironically enough. And it was like chicken derby. The whole concept of it was it wasn't made yet. It's made now. And you're basically gambling on racing chickens. So it was like, the whole thing there was Zed Run was a really really big deal. Um, the race at one point was as well, also on Polygon. And so both were horse racing, but the chicken racing was really getting as many eyes on it as possible. But it still sold out. It did really well. He guided me through it. I spent zero point 0.5 ETH to mint 11 chickens, and I sold 10 of them for almost 2 ETH total. And so it was beginners.
That's a good start.
It's a great start. You're euphoric. You feel great. Um, I wish he had told me about Board 8, but hey, we move on. We move on. But anyway, long story short, obviously, I'll fast forward a little bit more to like 7, 8, 9 months later. I started hanging out in Discord a little bit more because I really liked Marvel Cinematic Universe, and there was a project kind of
Hell
doing
yeah.
a bit of derivative of the Gauntless ones, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Obviously, it ended up being a little bit of soft rug, whatever. So, but that was more so my intro into understanding community behind every single project, the culture behind every single project, or just the culture all around in general. But more so in Discord. I haven't touched Twitter yet at that point. I started a Twitter account, and then I was just kind of like, whatever, fuck this thing. I just want to use this to lurk. And so then I did that for about a year. I started off as a regular community member. I started getting offers for moderator, just literally for I didn't even know the job existed until I got my first offer, and they were like, "Hey, we really love your vibe. We love how you're keeping the community entertained. We would love for you to come over to our server and do the same. And we understand you might not have heard of us, so we would love to pay you this amount for the month and see what you can do." And I'm like, "What? Okay, sure." And I would, and I did. And next thing I knew, I was doing that across 5, 6 different projects for a solid few months. And then I got my first real job offer, which allowed me to stop doing anything Web 2 because I kind of named my price. And I was like, this is what it would take for me to completely focus on you guys and, get me fully into Web 3. And they agreed. and the rest is history. Obviously, I don't work with that project anymore. The irony was, we decided that I needed to go be more active on socials to try and represent them, but then their actions and their words were kind of contradicting, and it
Classic.
yeah. And when I started Spaces, they wanted me to stop doing Spaces, despite what we had talked about a few months back. And then I said, I appreciate that and I understand why, but I don't agree. And I think I see more potential in Spaces for my individual self. So I took another yet big leap. Now, mind you, this is after a year of working with this project. And I've already had taken a big leap from Web 2 to Web 3 and provided for my family. Then my wife went back to work, and then after 6 9 months of that, I was like, cool, let's take another big leap. And I just went straight, basically straight full spaces, and I did get a job offer from time to time where I got to do the odd gig of helping others grow their spaces a little bit, and then just mutually parting, and then finally, eventually, here we are fully and successfully. Well, not maybe not fully, but for the most part, we're monetizing Espresso Shot, or at the very least, leveraging it so that we can have some sort of revenue for every individual member of the team, including myself, and just being able to keep doing what we're doing, my man.
Fantastic, man. Of course, I first met you in the Espresso Shot and was brought in by my buddy Big Nil, who has been there with you for some time. But you guys run spaces Monday through Friday every morning, and that is really fantastic. You really have, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like driving to work back in the day when I worked a regular 9 to 5 and, turning on the radio station morning show. And it's just a bunch of jerks yapping at each other. Uh, I love it. And you guys have different themes, you have different guests on, and you've got really just a great collection of personalities and people with strong backgrounds. Um, when did you guys start the Espresso Shot? It's been about a year.
It's been over a year. So the official first episode with the title "The Espresso Shot" aired December 5th, give or take a few days of 2022. So that was the first official aired episode of the Espresso Shot itself. Um, but technically, we were live as the morning shot before that for about a month and a half, 2 months. But it was shotgun spaces. And so this is where it gets interesting, right? How the fuck did Sanza become the host of the Espresso Shot if Shotgun was the one that started it all, right? And that's the beauty of all of this is that I started off with the health and fitness show in October, and
Fitness. All right.
yeah,
Is that where the mayonnaise jokes come from?
no, no, the mayonnaise joke is very, very recent. Shout out, unfortunately, no, it's I was a nutrition coach. That was my Web 2 job before I jumped in, and the reason why I jumped in because the income was as stable as I would have liked, and so I so long story short, I was doing health and fitness shows for a month, give or take. I wasn't doing them every day. I was doing them 2, 3, 4 times a week, maybe, depending on how I felt. But for the most part, I was just focusing on being a speaker in other spaces, getting myself out there a little bit more, letting people know I exist, and it was working. It still does to this day, and so it's something that I was really happy and prideful of, and eventually I arrived on Shotgun Spaces, and his thing was the morning shot, very similar to how the Espresso Shot is run now, not as structured, like not really segment, just general overall discussion. He would either go, sometimes he would go an hour and a half, sometimes he would go 3 hours, right? And so I eventually came on as someone who was talking about nutrition in the Web3 space because Shotgun noticed that you know, and he wanted to talk about it. So I came on. I was co-host, obviously, for that moment, and then people liked our vibe. People liked our dynamic. People liked how we went back and forth, even on the very first show. And it only really evolved from there. We only got more comfortable with each other. And so, long story short, we eventually decided, hey, I just came on your show. Why don't you come on mine? Since because he had known about sports and training and macros, so I was like, you'd be a natural fit to just come on and talk. We'll go back and forth because I'll be honest, I don't really have a lot of people to go back and forth with because no one fucking knows what I'm talking about half the time. Like I'm talking like 30 to 40 people was a big room for me at that point, right? And that was like a good day. That was like a fantastic day. I was like, great. Over 100 people tuned in. It's like, it would be like 101. But like, over 100 people tuned in. Let's go, and then it eventually evolved into, hey, why don't we just do this together? But it got a little messy because I would do my show right after his show. I was still doing my health and fitness one. And then eventually, it got to a point where I pushed mine to the evening so I wouldn't do it right after. And eventually I just got rid of it because I was just kind of like, this is not working. This is the weakest show that I'm part of, that I'm co-hosting, that I'm hosting, and I'm getting worn out. I'm getting burnt out, and I could feel it. I could sense it.
No,
So
I feel that, man. I
yeah,
just sunset. I sunset a Sunday evening space. I just, it was like it didn't feel like there was room for progress. I get that feeling. I actually remember when Shotgun started that space. I was in a reply guy chat with him. 2022 was the big reply guy meta, and we were boosting each other's posts. But I had faded his space because I had somebody else's space at the same time slot, and then I just
yeah,
forgot about it until last year when I jumped in with Big Nil.
yeah, man.
The small world.
Yeah, and the beauty of all this is that um, I really took a not a big leap, but another small leap to say, hey, Shotgun, like I would love if we could, maybe do a little bit more of a closer collaboration, and we do them 2 to 3 times a week, right? And he was like, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just do it every day? I think we have the power to try and do this. And I was hesitant, but I was like, sure, let's try it out. Let's try it out for sure. And so that was the beauty of all this, is that we evolved from that to then doing the morning shot, in which we would alternate every day. He would be host, I would be host the next day. He would be host again the next day after that, and we would alternate. Um, I eventually noticed that this is when I started getting a little bit more technical with the data and the numbers and everyone looking at the reactions, whatever. It's like, hey, I think people like it better when there's one consistent host and co-host. I don't care which one I am. I think we just need to make the call now, just because I think we have a good path ahead of us. It might serve us better to be more consistent. And we both stepped up. More so, Shaka stepped up. I got to give him that credit. And he said, I'll be co-host. I like it better, and I want you to be host because you set the room better than I do, and we can both learn from each other on how to be better like that. And the rest is history. Here we are, literally a whole year and a half later.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
It takes a lot to coordinate and commit to that kind of daily activity.
yeah,
And, seeing you guys just never at a lack for momentum, always having an organized topic or something to say. And I'm actually going to pull up and screen share your. I'm pulling up the Espresso Shot Twitter. It looks like you guys have the gold check mark now. You got that nice verified box next to your name.
yeah.
But I wanted to show off how you post because you have that nice embedded carousel. And what am I doing? I can't find it. I'm not going to do this. But you got that nice embedded carousel
It's
with
on my yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with the different little segments on each one.
Yeah.
And it's really clean. And so, does that come from the gold check mark, or is that
Oh,
some
so
other secret?
some other secret Illuminati cabal or deal? No, 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 no. It's actually in your creator studio. If you have as long as you have the check mark, you have access to that. You just have to go to the creator studio, and it's literally in your settings. You just got to go there and look
Oh,
for it.
that's sick. I use that to create this broadcast on Twitter. I should probably play around with the menu a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. We definitely don't talk about it enough. I remember the first time I started doing it. I wasn't even the first person to post it. Mochi was, but Mochi just didn't stay consistent with it. I didn't care about how it looked. I didn't care about how I didn't care about the engagement. I cared more about the technicality and the practicality of it because it's so much easier to push out a weekly post for a Monday through Friday show. I mean, I still post it every day for the following day, but bro, it is so much more relieving to know, like, hey, passively speaking, I just pinned this to my profile. It's always there. You just have to go to my profile. It's right in front of your face, and boom. Just set your reminders for whatever show you want to go. Set your reminders for all of them if you want. But it is the best embedding that X has ever given us. So that much I am grateful for. It's too easy.
Oh, it's great. I noticed when I post these broadcasts that they get a nice little embed, and I was using a flyer with the date and time, but then Twitter just goes ahead and stamps that date and time in local time right across the top on on this week's graphic. It went right across your name. It's like Pulse live with here's the details. Guy's name is behind him. So still dialing it in. I think this is our sixth or seventh episode doing the live stream, and I'm still wildly uncomfortable looking at my own face while I talk. Uh, but just like Twitter Spaces, we get used to it, right? I know when I started speaking on Spaces, even as somebody who could address a large audience in person, right? As soon as I got up to speak, it felt like I ran up 4 flights of stairs. I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding in my chest, and that kind of slowly fell off. And I'm hoping, looking forward to feeling more like a normal person while I do this.
Yeah, yeah. I think the more animated you are, the more you should be on camera. And if you're not animated, you should start practicing before you get on camera so that when you do it, because me doing this, my hands is natural. I'm not doing this on purpose. I don't have to spend energy thinking about if I'm doing these hand gestures or not. I do this a lot because this is me signaling that my brain is turning. I'm like, well, when you think about, and it's like, I I think the best thing we could do as creators is whether we're small, large, in the middle. I think the best thing you could do is give your advice on what works for you and what doesn't, because the reality is there's someone out there who's not even thinking about doing this, but they kind of want to. They're just arriving at it. That piece of advice helps them because I think more animated people should be on camera. Web3 MFers have a really hard time being on camera. And I mean, one, you can tell them all the alpha. The reality is they won't execute because we're in a everyone's in a state of euphoria. There's a huge financial motivating factor in the first place of why most people are here. So if you're a creator, you're actually in the minority, and there's actually plenty of consumers. You just need to know how to appeal to them, right? If we go on Spaces talking about how to run better spaces, it might be a banger, but the reality is we're pandering to, again, a much smaller audience than we think. There are people who don't touch Spaces and they're very active on X because, for that reason alone, is because they rather see the stream and talk in the chat, or they rather watch you on stream rather than listen to your Spaces. And so there's, to me, those two major audiences here. We just need to figure out which one we want to pander to a little bit more so. Figure out how to, be a little bit more flexible with our content. Just
Yeah,
like espresso shot being a different theme every day. We're not just one theme all week, right? We're a different theme every day. I think more creators should be like that, having a different theme throughout your week of how you post, so people can see the range of diversity that you have across the board.
that's the ticket. I think for me in Spaces, I had trouble coordinating topics and speakers, even just for twice a week.
Yeah.
And I would just shoot from the hip, see who comes up on stage and talk about current events. Um, but I think a lot of people, what they don't recognize enough is that folks like us who are active and in your face and on the timeline, we did all just start as some dude in the Discord,
Yeah.
and that there is a lot of room to create your own situation out here. Hello.
You want to say hi? Can you say hi? Say hi. Say hello. You want to wave? Give it a wave? Something? Okay, never mind. You're shy now.
That's cute. My kids are bigger now, and they're not as cute, but I love them. They're still cute. No, I've got 10-year-old twins, boy and a girl, and they're
Twins?
starting to. Yeah, they're starting to kick my butt on Nintendo games, and I'm not comfortable for that. I wasn't prepared, and yeah, they're talking smack and kicking my butt. I thought that I was gonna win when we bought Super Smash Brothers this last week, but nope. Getting my butt kicked, getting mopped around the arena.
I appreciate that warning. Now I know what to be ready for in about 8 years from now.
So, dude, are you doing any video content? Are you guys doing taking Espresso Shot to Twitch or YouTube or TikTok or any of these flip flops, doodops,
Yeah.
new apps?
So there's a lot in the pipeline right now when it comes to the content side of things. When it comes to Espresso Shot itself, myself, and Shotgun. Right. Obviously, I do the unboxing videos once a week, once every couple weeks. Espresso Shot is running every day. It's, yeah. Tuan is right. Shotgun, he's got to work on he's got to work out a little bit harder. But we like and Shotgun's got his videos that he's working on refining in his own way. But Espresso Shot has gone multi-platform in terms of we started posting on Instagram, we've started posting on YouTube. I believe we're also posting on TikTok as well. Shout out to Chris, our producer, who is managing all of that for us, so we don't have to think about it.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and so,
I need to clone Chris. I need a Chris.
oh yeah, everyone needs a clone, Chris. Trust me. I, I'm keeping him as close as possible. But no, in all seriousness, it's something that I tried to go it alone in the beginning of the year, and I just couldn't. When I mean, you already know when you have a kid, there's only so you can only go so far, and even as one human being, you can only do so much, right? You just have that much more flexibility to be able to manage multiple different things. But for me personally, I'm working on more so balancing my time with my personal brand and managing the Espresso Shot brand, which is something that I don't talk about a lot because it's kind of boring, right? You don't want to hear about the business development of a spaces show. That's
No, I do. I want to hear about those things. That's
I
why we're
know
here.
you do. I know you do, but like I mean it more so on like a daily basis. Like yesterday
Yeah.
I was on calls until 8, 9 p.m. and then I just sort of crashed. And then I woke up and I got right back into it. It's not the healthiest thing. I would never recommend it to anyone else, but like there's a certain point where you need to hyper focus and make sure everything's good to execute in the next so and so months. Because when the end of February starts, I'm going to be traveling a lot. I'm going to be going. I got NFT Paris. I got
Yeah, baby.
yeah, I got Tokyo for a quick little Azuki community
Oh,
event, and then I come right back into NFT NYC where Lore is hosting an event that he wants me to speak at with him, and then I've got Dubai where I'll also be speaking with the Playbook team. Shout out to the Playbook, Shiv and Ziana, and then after that I'm probably going to be stopping in LA at some point, and like I just know from my experience last year, traveling once a month, even if it's only for 3 4 days, it takes a lot out of you, and then you come back home and you can't skip a beat as a dad, right? So and then
yeah.
you can't skip a beat as a spaces host that's running daily. So like
Oh, yeah.
I literally booked a red eye back from Dubai just so I can host Monday morning show, or more so Shotgun will host it and I can be there to co-host. But in the sense of I have it in my mind, I need to be there. I need to be at this thing. Otherwise, like what am I even doing, right? And so I have that at the forefront of my brain of that I'll be able to relax in about 2 months from now when I'm traveling, because right now a lot of what's being worked on now is going to be launched during that, and that's something that we need to make sure is locked down, clarified, refined, and cleared, so there's no second guessing ourselves while I'm on the move, which is something.
Absolutely, man. I live and die by my calendar right
Yeah,
now. It's just like, oh, when do I have time for this? I'll book it. And if it doesn't make it into the calendar, I'm going to forget it.
yeah,
Uh, there's just so much going on right now. And actually, this year, I am going to be at NFT NYC,
Let's
my
go.
first meetup. I've met up once with a Web3 friend, and that's my co-founder family. And we were both in Colorado when we met and started our project.
Okay.
We're actually launching in March. So I'm going to make sure that we have sponsored attendance from the project and that we can be there to actually make those handshakes in person instead of just emojis. And I'm really excited for it. My wife has been wanting to go for 4 years, and she does photography on ETH and Tezos and Solana lately.
That's awesome.
So we both have just like all these people that we want to go and connect with. And I didn't apply for speaking or sign up for anything, but I
Yeah.
think just being free to kind of flow around and meet and greet and do the handshaking and go out for some drinks. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. It's always a good time. Again, I've learned my lesson big time from last year because before last year, I wasn't really like, I guess for lack of a better way to say it, well known. Right before that, it was like I was just a regular holder. But when you go in some of these events as a creator, and you know these group of people, people notice you. People start seeing you. People start wanting to hang out and talk with you more. And you're like, this is great. But I also have to repeat this like 50 to 100 more times every other day. And that's exhausting. Like, it's not necessarily like I'm an introvert, it's gonna exhaust anyone. Imagine, imagine having almost not the same but similar conversations with like anywhere from 50 to 200 people in a matter of days, and you're still continuing your normal obligations and responsibilities in life, right? That shit doesn't slow down, and so it's. I've learned my lesson from that last year, and I'm going to apply that very carefully to this year, and something that I would pass on to anyone else who's going in with that mindset. Right? It's both very fulfilling and rewarding, and but that doesn't come with some sort of effort on our part as well, and being mindful about it.
Yeah, you got to take that canned messaging and just have record a video. And we're like, oh, hey, what's up? You can be like, hey, guys, here, watch this real quick. This will fill you in on the details. And then we can just chill. And here's my card, let's connect and ask me those questions later because, like, I'm tired, man. I know I used to be in sales and I'd be giving the same conversation to 100 people every day, and that's nuts.
Yeah,
So I've definitely got that on my radar now and going to look for a creative way to kind of avoid that situation, having the same elevator pitch. It's going to be post raise for me. So I'm not going to be looking to like chase around VCs or anything. I just want
yeah,
to have fun. I want to connect with people on a personal level. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about.
yeah,
A lot of this is cutting edge technology and super frontier level social spheres that are developing, and that part's exciting. But just hanging out, I think, is a big part of it,
yeah.
especially in this sort of early phase. Because yeah, like 2021 was nuts,
Oh,
and you couldn't get in edgewise anywhere as a new rando. So just making these friendships, because once it really pops off, I think it's really going to be a referral game, and it's really going to come down to who do you already know, and how can you leverage your network to keep growing. So I think it's a really great opportunity now to make these bonds and grow these things. As we're reaching out on YouTube, trying to figure out how to tap into a native stream of engagement there. After figuring out things like Twitter and
yeah,
the algorithm and all the the hoops that you got to jump through and the special dances you got to do just to you know exist on a base level.
yeah,
Yeah, great job getting these foundations laid, man. I
exactly.
think that your regular show and the things that you do and the vibes that you bring to the ecosystem are a real treasure. And I know obviously I miss your space a lot. The mornings for me are usually spent. I'm juggling a remote job and Web3. So I'm kind of trying to like, oh, I could be flexible, but shoot, I got to get some stuff done because I'm on
Yeah,
spaces lately.
I think that that's something that we've seen that's been a consistent like point is and something we honestly can't do anything about anyway, right? We picked our time slot and we have to stick with it. The beauty of that is that being consistent through the bear market is what got us here in the first place, right? And now we're ramping up in this market now. We're seeing more opportunities. We're seeing more people noticing. We're seeing more people understanding the show and the dynamic of what we got going throughout the week, and that we're probably going to be here regardless. I again, and a lot of people call me stupid as a creator for saying this, but like I'll remind people like you don't have to be here every single day. Like I'm not asking you to do that. All I'm asking you for is just let us know you're here. Let us know you're commenting. Let us know you're reposting so that we can acknowledge you just as much as you're acknowledging us. It's an eye for an eye kind of deal. That's how I see it, and I think it's fair. But I remind everyone every single time. Well, not every single time, but you don't have to be here every day. It's a daily show. I I don't show up to. Unfortunately, I used to before when I have more time on my hands. Now it's like, cool. After this space, you got another spaces, and then you have a meeting. There was one day where I was on spaces from 7, I spaces and meetings from 7 all the way to 4 p.m. without stopping, and I had like one piece of fruit, and it was absolutely miserable. But thankfully, that was only one day and not my average day, right? Um, but all that
Yeah,
to
that could be a lot. I mean, I was on a 5 hour space one day, and I got off of it and was just wrecked.
yeah,
It's exhausting. At sometimes.
yeah, and on top of that, speaking of, I think a real issue that's going to get tired really fast are people who are hosting more than 2 hour spaces. If
Yeah,
you think that there are going to be a huge audience of people who are able to give you 5 active listening hours per day per whatever, you're being unrealistic. Like that was something that Shaka and I had started settling on really early on in the game, which was that an hour and a half is good enough. An hour and a half is either good enough or the discussion is may not be completely done, but the point has been made. And so even if there are hands, then you can end it and just let them know, hey, come back tomorrow. We're gonna have a different discussion.
absolutely. No,
Or,
I think leaving people with more to say is great
yeah,
because it really fosters open dialogue. People take it to the group chats, they take it to the timeline, and the conversation becomes more impactful. It sticks with them in their mind. They come back the next day with more questions. I think that having a more limited scope is a really great idea. And like, obviously doing it for hours is not sustainable.
yeah,
My first space was 2 hours. I felt like every time we hit that second hour, it really popped off. And
yeah,
my wife was always getting me like, why do you have a space that's longer than an hour? Nobody wants a space that's
yeah,
longer than an hour. We all have stuff to do.
yeah,
We got other stuff to do. I'm like, all right, I
yeah,
agree. Maybe I'm popping off at the second hour because that's a better time slot.
yeah.
And like there's always a little give and take. But consistency really is. It's not just an engagement farm post.
Nah.
Consistency really goes the distance, and we can
So
see that in your regular Monday through Friday time slot really paying off.
when you aren't consistent with the time duration itself, that means you yourself aren't going to be consistent, right? And what I mean by that is if you're dedicating mental energy to multiple few hours per day, per even 2 3 times a week, it's not gonna last. What if you have a really bad day one day and you're like, fuck, like now I gotta do a 3 hour space because that's what I always do. Even if you never actually said it out loud, like I gotta do 3 hour space. There are some days where, and I'm gonna be completely transparent, where I wake up, I'm like, thank God it's only 90 minutes. Like, thank God. Like, and then there are some days where I'm like, fuck, I wish I could do 3 hours today because there's a lot to go through and there's plenty to really bring up. But that's the nature of the consistency game in the first place. You have to sacrifice that in the name of consistency. And if anything, you can use this advantage to go be a speaker on someone else's space and showcase your speaker skills. Because a lot of hosts, whether it's on just live audio, period, not just Twitter spaces, right? A lot of hosts forget how to be speakers. A lot of hosts just love to talk, and that's what they do. Someone the other day was complaining about someone who had monologue along with their co-host for 90 minutes and no speakers. There were hands up, by the way. There were hands up. So you monologue for 90 minutes and you robbed your speakers the chance to speak. Like, I get if you're going the angle of this is a radio show, whatever, then don't let speakers up. Just talk. Like it just,
Yeah.
and but I think that's kind of the just the nature of Web3, right? That's the nature of NFTs and crypto. We're we're willing to talk to some people we want to hear. We're not willing to listen to some people we don't want to hear, but we want to be part of the show, kind of deal. It's like this weird, like mixed sentiment and vibe, and it it's a harsh nature, but it's something that we're all learning to adapt to.
Yeah, I know. I feel that, man, because I'm always quick to request up on stage, and I'm sure there's people out there like, oh, this guy again, he likes his opinions. But I do. I have opinions, and I want to talk. I love culture. I love context. I love splitting hairs and diving into how things work. And I got a lot of takes. And then, when the host just keeps going and they keep going, I got my hand up. I'm like, oh, I really got something to say about this. And then they move on. They segue to a different topic. I'm like, wait, what? What
Yeah,
was I gonna say?
I,
Oh shit!
I really think it's a host's job to moderate their speakers more than the speaker themselves. Obviously, it's a great help, but I think it's the host's job and the co-host's job as well. Um, I also think it's the host's job to leave discussion on the table for the speakers to have. Just like I also think it's the job for the speakers to let other speakers have their own takes. So like a great example would be like I've been that person that has 10 points that he wants to give, right? Like I use this beautiful little book here and I'll be like, I'll have a whole page full, but I know I shouldn't say everything because the reality is what I'm thinking, probably a lot of what these other people are thinking. And so I really should only pick two of my best points and bring that up. Not three, two. Because the reality is, once you go into three, you're gone. You're already in this monologue stigma that everyone's so quick to attach to each person. I've actually purposely have not been put on stage because of my monologue, and I got told by the host that, and I was like, "Cool, I appreciate the feedback. I'll be better at this. I promise." And I would turn around, get better at it. Came back, fix it. So it's like it's about understanding what's feedback, what's not, because there's feedback even when you're not looking for it, and it could be feedback for you even if you're normally a host, or it could be feedback for you as a speaker. I've even had hosts DM me go, "Hey, I appreciate like you cheering up the room and vibes, but I was trying to keep it a little bit more serious discussion." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. Won't do that again. I'll make sure to read the room a little bit better next time." So like, there's people make mistakes, and there's no one that's even when you think they're not making mistakes, they do. They're just not talking about it, and we should be talking about our mistakes more because everyone just ends up making the same fucking mistakes all the time.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, let's wrap things up here. I'm still playing with format, and I think 30, 45 minutes is okay. Nobody's watching the whole thing anyway, and I got to get a guy to do clips. I'm not good at clips.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got, I can upload my files to a drive, but then only half the world has the bandwidth to download that stuff, and so it's a journey. But I really appreciate your candid observations on the growth and the journey, and thank you so much for making time to join us today on Pulse. Do you have any final words?
No, man, I appreciate you having me up. I know this is, again, streaming is one of these things that more of us should be doing. So I'm glad to see that you're doing it, man. And you're crushing. I love the layout of this whole thing. This is beautiful. I truly don't really use anything other outside of StreamYard. So it's always really interesting to see what people end up picking when it comes to streaming service or how they want to run it. I love it. So thank you for having me up. Thank you for letting me help practice with you because that's what we're doing right now. We're practicing, my man.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, Sansa, and looking forward to getting my job done a little sooner each day so I can actually come join your space and participate more in the community. So thanks again. Have a great week. And for everybody who tuned in, thank you. Please subscribe to our YouTube and give at Sansa underscore ETH a follow. He's a great guy, and join his spaces. Come out and join the community. There's always a really open conversation and a lot of good people there. So, cheers, everybody, and have a great day.
Cheers.